And now, our feature presentation.
You are watching a master at work.
Hello, everybody. Rafael Chacín, as known as el Capitán Rafucho, and my co-host Zenith. Welcome, everybody, to another classic episode, episode number 5. Here it is, number 5 with the Combat Club. So right now we get into details for the UFC, AEW, WWE, and of course boxing. So right now, before it gets started right now, so I just wanted to tell you, congrats to everybody else in this building right here. Congrats for the comments. Congrats for the shout outs. And of course, I just wanted to make it like very official. So at the very boost moment, because during the live stream of the UFC 299 between Sean O'Malley versus Marlon Chito Vera, I just hit like a new milestone. More than 700 viewers, they just enjoyed the live stream during last Saturday night, not only on YouTube, but also I just hit a new milestone on Rumble, also on Twitter. I mean, it's going to be like a really amazing because we got the details about for the fight between Sean O'Malley versus Marlon Vera, and of course, some details about for the news. So right now, let's get it started with my co-host, Science. So how you feel about it?
Yeah, first off, congratulations, man, for hitting that new milestone in live viewers and the total amount of people that came on and support. That's absolutely amazing. So shout out to Rafael for holding it down, calling that fights live. And do we have fights to break down, man? A lot of great fights that happened this past weekend. A lot of great fights ahead, like my man said. And also, he's gonna touch on the WWE for you guys. So we just want to say thank you guys all for joining us. And even if you're watching after the fact, I apologize for my language there. If you guys are watching after the fact, we really appreciate it. So thank you guys all for spending time out of your day with us. But back over to you, Raphael. We got a lot of stuff to get to today.
Oh, yes, we got a lot of stuff right now because first we have the UFC 299 because this fight card is very, very intense. It is really spot on. It's really spot on because there's like a really excited for all the levels stack. Because in that point right here, because Sean O'Malley versus Marlon Vera, it became like a massive revenge. Because remember the first time that Marlon Vera versus Chito Vera versus Sean O'Malley just hitting off for 2020 when the COVID started and all of this game right here. But I know that Marlon Chito Vera just won the round number 1, but Sean O'Malley, they just won the round number 2. And I think that it logically decided to fight because it might even had to go at a discussion because this is like a great fight. This is like a great festival of grappling, striking. I mean, there's a really enjoyed it about it. There's a shutting down for everything. And not only about for the fights between Sean O'Malley versus Marlon Chito Vera, also there's a lot of things about it for Dustin Poirier. I mean, Dustin Poirier just headed out for a knockout against Benoit St. Davis. And I know that he's got the heaviest hands because we just see like a master class of grappling and striking. And so he basically get the gun of the shadow because he just made like a fight for a minute, insane pace, even it got clipping it out until lights out. But you remember about the deja vu about for the Justin Gage versus Dustin Poirier, because I think this is gonna happen because the performance is more excited because he had Poirier serious trouble multiple times. But basically, it's just kind of like it's better having a great fight. But also, he has a nice footwork, fast hands, even over the mixed martial arts. But it's absolutely ridiculous. But also, we can never forget about the debut of Michael Venom Page, which is absolutely incredible to see that about it because it's exactly how to go for the ranking because after he just done enough for Bellator kickboxing, right now is going to the big of the UFC because Dana White must be like a clown right now because Francis got knocked down and he just got to deal with like the master class for 5 rounds. Also, it wanted the might to get like a Dustin like a title shot, but honestly, he should have had to win, but especially if Gage or Oliveira, they had one for the one for sure for the deserving one. But I think this card had the 2 great reasons. I mean, it's not very dangerous because it's not very silly, but those are amazing fights that go right now. There's absolutely masterclass and absolutely bangers. And of course, we did to see for Sean O'Malley between calling out for Ilya Tupuria to going out to Spain. I mean, they need to defend their battles. A few times where they're talking about for a fight outside of the weight class. I mean, make a lot of chance on otherwise it being like anti-weight classes. Not kind of very annoying, but it's simply because almost for those fights, 97% of the guillotine athletes they gotta get that one, and Dustin know about that. So right now, let's get it out for my co-host Science Center to break it down for the UFC 299, which is absolutely a master class and absolutely bangers for those fights. So there you go.
Lovely, well said, Raphael. I know I was so super excited. You was all over the place there because there's so much exciting fights to get to. What up, Daniel? Thank you so much for joining us this evening on a Wednesday afternoon, hanging out with the boys on the Combat Club. And man, like Raphael said, we can start so many different places, so much different great fights. What I want to do is I want to start all the way at the beginning. You know, we have another guy coming from Kazakhstan, proving that Kazakhstan is the real deal in the NFL, in the UFC. You know, I understand that Dagestan gets all the praise right now because Nurmagomedov, because of the lightweight champion in Islam. But when you really think about it, before the Kazakhstan wrestling, it was all about before that wrestling, it was all about the Kazakhstan wrestling. It was basically what it's all about to say. We got Shotwat, you know, undefeated with all these victories, never been to decision, and we have another guy coming up in Azu, absolutely putting on a show against CJ Vere, absolutely phenomenal. The guy I really want to talk about is this guy right here, Robelis. Robelis, absolutely a stud. You seen him in, if you didn't, in his previous performances in smaller organizations. This guy doesn't even go to 20 seconds, man. As you can see, 12 seconds, 3 seconds, 4 seconds. And then, of course, his UFC debut against Josh. Josh is a tough competitor, but at the end of the day, Josh had no chance. You know, quick win bonus. If you was betting this guy on DraftKings, I know I had him in my lineups, but wonderful performance. And then you got Michael Pera, man, coming out dancing like a phenom, like amazing. I know Raphael probably loved that dance choreography that guy gave, bro. It was super amazing. It was fun to watch. And then he gets into the ring and he delivers a nice performance against Michael with a real naked choke in round 1. I know we have a lot of great fights to get to, guys. A lot of great fights to talk about, guys. But we got Jack Della Mania, you know, going to war against Gilbert Burns, almost losing that fight against Gilbert Burns, and then coming in late in the round, pulling in all his strength to go and get a TKO finish with knees and ground strikes. But not only does he beat Gilbert Burns, guys, he goes and he does the scary thing, the thing no one wants to do. He calls out Shakwat. We just got done talking about Shakwat Rakhmonov, undefeated in the UFC, undefeated in his career, never been to a decision, 8 wins by knockout, 10 wins by submission, just submitted Stephen Thompson, 18-0, and Jack Della Mania. Jack Della Madalena, all these names. It's so hard to pronounce. I'm gonna get better at it. But Jack,
I know
Jack,
it sounds very Australian,
Jack
but you
boy.
have to pronounce very good. But Jack Della Maddalena, which is
Jack
amazing.
Della Madalena, absolutely. What an amazing fight. And this guy, like Raphael, like I'm gonna let you take over right now because I know you probably have a lot to say on this fight too. Because this guy, look at this guy. This guy's fighting on a win streak. Absolutely amazing. This guy, I believe, was 0-2, and then he pulled off 17 in a row, 16. Yeah. So he started his career 0-2. Obviously, you know, didn't really work out in his favor. His first punch, his first fight, getting knocked out. His second fight, getting a submission, right? And then from there, he just gets better, and he just gets better, and then he just gets better, and you can see it. And you go call out someone like Shakwat, dude. I give you props, but you have anything to say before I move on about Jack?
Mm-hmm.
What'd you think about his performance?
Yeah, I know about for that performance, but I think for the car right here, I mean, Jack Della Maddalena, I mean, it's so much an intense right now because I think it has to go at for defensive guards. I mean, he has one of the best defense, but he sucks at having it like at attack us or the backwards every the weekend. But no disrespect for the opponent. I mean, this is like at the beggar showcase. I mean, they just had Volkanovski, there's Rob, and also there's Chatin and Magdalena. They're just really like an Australian showcase of the UFC. Because, like I said about it, he goes to the body, throws straight punches, no about with a trunk uppercuts. I mean, can you imagine about this body work? It's sort of like Andres is very insane, especially frustrating when a fighter has an opponent hurt badly and shooting off against in the cage. I mean, you will think that's going to have to dedicate his life and feeling damage for the people who understand about it. But it's kind of like the body when an opponent's covered up for the heads. I mean, they just made like a great fighter. Because if that bloke was grappling on bulk and Ross level, he's like at a level for championship. I mean, he was grappling to say that he was shocked how decent he was on the ground. But remember that time he was got a nose broke and he decided he's never got a hit again. But it
Yeah.
seems like it reminds me of like an early when it comes to boxing style. Boxing style because they might be having to go to the best fight nation right now because he wanted to see like because after Alexander Volkanovski became like a great opportunity. So I just figured it out and say this happened to the best class right here for Australians because not only it just talking about for Jack Devil Madalena, but also I just had Alexander Volkanovski. I mean, this very style, but it's very opening the cross it off, did a jab, his body punch, absolutely vicious, but he just found really great about the shots. I mean, it's very similar in Errol's pens, but I'm thinking about it because it's very too heavy, but he just dodged a fight bullet. I mean, the whole fight is going to last minute of on anything because there's just like every time that it comes, is so really equilibrium completely out of them.
Yeah, I love that you brought that up because yeah, he does the his fighting style. He absolutely puts himself into danger, and he was in danger. There's times against Gilbert Burns where, like we said, there's times where he was losing that fight. But for him to go out there and once again prove that hey, I have the heart to get through this fight and to turn the fight around like he did, and then to call off Shakwat is absolutely amazing. And then, we had Peter Yan fight Sang Hadong. A lot of people say Sang Hadong should have won that fight. I had it going to Peter. Another great fight at the bantamweight division, a crowded division at the top. But we're gonna get to that. We got Michael Venom Page. What can I say? Kevin Holland looked irritated in there, but that's just the way Michael MVP fights. That's the way Page fights. You know what I'm saying? He's really hard to time. And when you think you have him down and you go throw a punch, he's not there because his movements are just elite. You know what I'm saying? And he's in and out. He's a sniper. And I can't wait for a matchup against the higher ranking guys in the division. Let's see who the UFC feeds him next. I know Ian Gary's name is out there. A lot of people want to see him fight Ian Gary. We'll see what happens. Absolutely nice win for Michael Venom Page. I know a lot of people say that was maybe a boring fight, but then you got to keep in mind too that it is his first UFC fight. The fact that he got through an opponent like Kevin Holland shows you that he does belong to be here in the UFC. Kevin Holland is not no scrub. Kevin Holland is one of the top middleweights in the game, welterweights too. So that being said, what an amazing performance. And I have to say, man, never count out the legend Dustin Poirier. I don't know if you guys see my video. I did a whole video on Dustin Poirier on my channel. You can go look it up after this program. But man, what a diamond, man. His nickname serves him the best. And one thing I'm gonna have to say to Bernard St. Denis is you're young, bro. You have a lot of time, and at the end of the day, I could see you in the top 5 mainstayer, but at the end of the day, you got to slow it down. You can't just go in there against these killers. Now that you're being matched up against the cream of the crop in the division, you're gonna notice that there's levels to this shit, right? The cream of the crop, you can't go in there with your I'm gonna run through you every time. You know what I'm saying? Look what happened to we're gonna get into that a little bit later, but look what happened when Francis first got a big name in Stipe. You can't just go rush and run through people when you get to that level, when you get to that high level. Dustin Poirier's boxing was on point the whole time, yelling at my TV, stop going for that damn guillotine, but he kept on going there, and one day he's gonna get it. Destin deserves a title shot. I know a lot of people say you can't do that because it's Gaethje's or it's Oliveira's, but at the end of the day, everybody's booked. Gaethje may get mad at it, but at the end of the day, everybody's booked. And the champion wants to fight in Saudi Arabia. He wants to headline that Kingdom of Saudi Arabia court on June 22nd. And the champion has say he wants to fight in June and he wants to fight in October. So he's probably going to fight Destin. It hasn't been announced yet, but I can see it. He can see him fighting Destin, and you got to give Destin that fight. Exactly what they did with Yo-Yo. He gets out the featherweight division. He comes off of a loss against Max. He goes on the 2-fight win streak against that Ortega and then against Emmett, and then he gets his championship fight. And obviously, we don't want to see Max versus Volk Fur. But at the end of the day, we talk about that another day, get into that main event. Not to hog the mic too long, but absolutely masterclass performance by the Sugar Show, showing again why he's the number one in that division. I love him to soak in his moment. I know a lot of people was mad at him, but at the end of the day, when you come, this guy revenged a loss. He was waiting to revenge for 3 years. When you're coming off that kind of performance, why give the spotlight to someone else? Sometimes I know a lot of the fans want the new guy like Bawab to come into the octagon to get that first stare off. But at the end of the day, it was Sean O'Malley's moment. Let him dream. Of course, he's not going to get a jet to Spain. Of course, he's not going to fight Ilya. Ilya has other plans, and they both need to defend their titles first. The fight to make is Mawab, but he knew that. He just didn't want to give Mawab his moment, and I thought that was kind of fucking funny. I was literally thought that was funny when Moab was coming up to him like a fan. I love Moab. I'm not trying to talk shit about Moab, but when Moab's coming up to him saying congratulations, and Sean's looking back like, I thought you was a fan. Like, oh, that's Moab. I thought that was fucking hilarious. I mean, like, that's all, I mean, like, Sean says he didn't know that was Moab. Maybe he just got out of a fight. Maybe I understand, but I thought that was genius. I thought that was funny. Not giving Moab no fucking shine. The guy took my jacket. You getting no shine, but the real ones know that Moab's next, and we can't wait to see that fight. Without further ado, your host Rafael. Let's get it.
There you go. So, I just wanted to talk it about for like Kevin Holland. I mean,
Kevin Holland.
He looked better in the UFC debut than ever looked because there's like a funds to me, but he will be like very dominated because he looks so fast, insane. How much distance he could close on the steel line effective chops. I mean, it's actually a lie because at the age of 36, to be moving that fast, making Holland look slow, it's something else. I mean, it's very crazy. It's not even Wonder Boy Punk Holland in the back of striking, but he's providing this skill outside for the UFC, but he was real that Holland gave off like an after a run.
Mac in the house. Shout out to Mac. Sorry.
Yeah. But hey, salute to Mac, the Giants fan, to join us for this rank here. But I just realized that MVP, because what was like the Kevin Holland's game plan? He looked extremely frustrated, and it just kind of froze it in later rounds. But I just thinking about that.
Yeah.
Michael pin him because he get like an enormous amount because he just silenced all that can crush it doubters because he just got up with the wildcard music just like The Undertaker. I mean, that was like one of the unforgettable moments of the entire career because they don't know about this watching because even though he has a lot of experience in Bellator and kickboxing, so but if it comes to the wildcard music at the UFC, when Colby Cambinchi walks out with the Kurt Angle's anthem with Say You Sucked, boom, Michael Mann on Page just walking it out for The Undertaker. That was like incredible, respecting for a legend. I mean, that one fight is not very boring. It's not boring at all because it's really exciting. Because I thought it with Kevin Holland could have beat it down, but Kevin Holland, he doesn't know about for the speed and intensity of Michael Bannon Page. I mean, eventually it runs to the get his confidence, but he shows it the better 99% of the roster because isn't gonna waste a fun striker to slay 30 on the wrestler because they are gonna figure it out. They can drop him, but I really kind of finished it a couple times. But Michael Bannon Page, I mean, he just really, really fast. But of course, with his clinch was very like not to get it on par with this, but his antics, his fighting, his grappling, his striking. I mean, it's great level. It's kind of happen to the championship. But I just wanted to tell you that welcome Bannon Page to the UFC. And of course, I just wanted to tell you that he's dramatically like very talented because at the age of 36, he's still got it.
I mean, like, I absolutely love that you wanted to spend a little bit of time talking about Michael Page, and we should, because at the end of the day, exactly what you said. That was an exciting fight to watch because it's almost like it's point fighting. He's coming from high level Taekwondo, right? So it's all with points, and it's what he's doing. He's sniping you, and at the end of the day, Kevin Holland had to figure that out. He had to figure out how to range, how to time that distance and he couldn't. He couldn't do it in 3 rounds, and no, that's gonna frustrate a lot of people in the division. At the end of the day, Michael Venom Page is extremely talented MMA fighter, and we knew that. Him, there's a very few. There's Nurmagomedov, there's maybe Pitbull from Bellator, there's him, and there's Michael Chandler that came from Bellator. There's very a few, and maybe there's the middleweight champion in Bellator as well. But at the end of the day, like, there's very few times where someone from another organization, maybe the B League team, right? And to come up and to do what he did to Kevin Holland, to frustrate Kevin Holland. Kevin Holland has reach, Kevin Holland has length, and Kevin Holland couldn't get him. So what it's going to take to beat a guy like Michael Venom Page is going to take someone that has extreme high level IQ at striking, as someone like the champion that can literally time you and headshot you dead. And at the end of the day, that is a major fight that I can't wait to see. At the end of the day, he has to get past 2 or 3 more opponents. Now, if he goes in there and he gets a big fight, just look how talented that division is right now, right? So if you go and you fight an Ian Machado, Gary, or whoever you get, right, and you beat him in high fashion, then maybe you jump the pedestal and you jump to fight Edwards. But at the end of the day, there's a line. Get in line, right? You got Muhammad that's next up. That's going to be confirmed here soon. Then you got Shakawat that's going to come after that. Shakawat, if he faces Jack, the winner of that gets the title fight, right? So then you got Michael Venom Page, and if he beats Ian Machado Gary beats Michael Venom Page, all I'm trying to say is he's in a perfect position to control his own destiny. That's basically what I'm trying to say. He got the jitters, the butterflies out of the way, and now it's Fu Sen, right? Fu Sen, let's go with spin. Like, I don't think he tried all his moves. Of course, he didn't lay out his whole game plan in there, right? As we see him fight, he needs to rush to the title, because, like Rafael said, he's only 36, right? So what he has to do is rush his way to the title, and his fighting style makes it perfect at his age, because the guy doesn't get hit. But back to you, Rafael.
Yeah, but I know, because of after that, because we just revised for the UFC 299 at Miami. That was so incredible to see about it. So right now, let's gonna pass out for another topic right here. So, I mean, there's a lot of getting interesting right here, because we just saw for the 2 battles that no one see that coming, because it's something that, like, because I really understand it about it, because right now in the boxing world, something could ever happen. But because of that, I was tremendously shocked right now. But I think it's gonna happen between of publicity, but I don't think it's gonna happen right now. So yeah, I just talking about for anything it's gonna like really worse. So right now, I just wanted to tell you, because I just wanted to tell her for the first photo that I just wanted to put in right here, but I just wanted to let you know. So I just got it about for the news, but it's very confirmed. But because the first one, it's not very complicated, because it's kind of like a very fun, very controversial. But let's see for this one. All right, so this one is Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson. It's going to be at the AT&T Stadium, Arlington, Texas, which is on July 20. And then they just got Nate Diaz versus Jorge Masvidal, which is not about for the MMA, but it's about for a rematch, but in boxing match in Inglewood, California, in June 1st. I mean, that sounds very crazy about for the boxing match, but I know that Nate Diaz versus Jorge Masvidal, they just faced once at 2019 at the UFC when it comes to BMF title with Dwayne Johnson there. I mean, they just set him up for the rematch. They got for the June 1st in boxing match in Los Angeles. And then they just got Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson. I mean, imagine for the Mike Tyson, because I just wanted to tell you, Mike Tyson is a very legend. I mean, you can never beat Mike Tyson, because he's one of the best heavyweights of all time. Because if you got to tell him who's going to be the GOAT, are they going to be like between Roberto Duran, which is the Stones of Hands. Also, they got Muhammad Ali. They just got Sugar Ray Leonard. Also, they got Evander Holyfield, Oscar de la Hoya. I mean, they could have had George Fraser, Larry Holmes. I mean, doesn't have it because they just had the right time for the effects of grappling, also for the style. But I mean, Mike Tyson's just beat 10 world champions, was the youngest undisputed champion ever. He was the undisputed heavyweight champion. He became for the undisputed. All right, now he's getting a return, but after he got up for a fight against Jake Paul, I mean, I can never understand it because I had to say for the go to say right here, but you can never lose for this match right here because I think it's gonna be like a publicity stunt, but I think Mike Tyson will be the head of a Jake Paul because I remember the last match for Jake Paul is gonna be like against Nate Diaz, but it seems that Mike Tyson has the better power on his hands. But I think Jake Paul, it's nothing very compared with the today's of the boxers, but I mean his cultural impact was always in play, but actually was kind of the top five. But I really understand because he wasn't fighting bumps. I mean, he just made like a very cultural impact on the boxing. But then Mike Tyson, after going to the Jake Paul, I mean, that was during the childhood as well. I mean, that's not very kind of the right here. But let's just get like the thoughts between for the upcoming fight between Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson, and then Nate Diaz versus Jorge Masvidal, which is in California. So let's check them out for my co-host Science. So, and I'm ready now for my bread. So there you go.
Absolutely love the I love the fact that you wanted to bring up these fights, man. Both of these fights that is brought to you by Fanmo is going to be the promotion promoting this. On top of for the game for the Masvidal and Nate fight, it's going to be Game Red's Productions, Mafio's team, and then Real Fight Inc. Nate's team, and then of course MVP Promotions. It's going to be for Jake Paul's team promoting him against Mike Tyson. Let's talk about the problem child. Okay, the problem child, Jake Paul. A couple years ago said he wanted to get into boxing. Everybody's like, okay, didn't believe him. Okay, and what has he done? He fought UFC guys, maybe ex basketball player, as you can see on your screen right now. People out of their prime, maybe fighting Anderson Silva, and a lot of people hated on that, including myself. But then when I really thought about it, and I'm like, man, he's fighting people young in his boxing career that is actually had careers. If you go look at young boxers, they don't really fight no names. They're really fighting nobodies, right? The padded records until they get to 12-0. But here Jake Paul is going. Yeah, you can say, hey, he's a YouTube boxer and this is YouTube boxing. Because yeah, it is. It was. But now he's starting to take the game more serious, right? And now, if you really think about it, he's looking at higher competition, right? Higher competition. And then he fights Nate Diaz, and then it just goes back to who the fuck is these guys calling out a guy from like he works on an oil rig, a retired boxer and stuff like that. But then the news breaks, right? The news breaks, and all of a sudden, you get this. You get the Jake Paul versus the Tyson. One thing I have to say though, regardless of that 60-year age difference, this is a win for Netflix. Let's just clap for Netflix, you know. Let's just clap for Netflix getting into live sports. This is a win for both of them, Jake Paul and Mike Tyson. You got to think about the money here, guys. I get it. Mike Tyson is 60. He still got it. Jake Paul, he thinks his speed is going to outplay Mike Tyson. I don't know who's going to win this fight. It's hard for me to say. Rafael just said it. Mike Tyson is one of the best fighters. You know, he is boxing in the 90s. Heavyweight, he is the king of heavyweights. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Muhammad Ali, the GOAT, but Mike Tyson's right up there with the GOAT. You know what I'm saying? In my mind, if when I was young and I was watching my uncles and running all over the house and seeing who they got on TV and stuff, you know, everybody be watching Mike Tyson. You know what I'm saying? He go bite off the ear at one point. You know, this guy was basically hypnotized to kill motherfuckers in the ring. Okay, go watch his backstory. Go look it up if you don't know it. I know we all know it. Absolutely. What an amazing fight here. I know this is stupid. I understand that. But this is a win, man. All parties are getting paid. At the end of the day, even fucking Dallas, you know, even Jerry Jones, AT&T Stadium, he's getting paid. You know what I'm saying? So like everybody's a win-win. It's exciting. You know, let's just really see it. Obviously, Mike Tyson is 60. I wouldn't advise him getting in the ring, but who am I to say anything? You know what I'm saying? Go get money. Go get money. That's all it is. Go get the damn money. And speaking on this one, on Masvidal versus Nate, I think this is another win. This is another win. As you can see, Masvidal is like on his sixth Game Bread boxing event. Nate Diaz is doing his thing with his Will Fight Inc. And this is a both win for both young early on promotions to promote their promotions. Game Bread is going to be a part of this. Will Fight Inc. is going to be a part of this, along with Fanmo, the promotions that's giving you this. And that's a win. That's a win for both. I know this is just going to be a fan favorite fight because of the fact that we're not going to see no ground shit. We're just going to see straight up gangsters going at it again in boxing. I know the fight ended kind of roughly for the BMF championship, but we get to see it again in boxing, and this is another win for all promotions, all parties involved. And at the end of the day, you may hate all of these YouTube boxing shit, but for me, honestly, boxing been dead. Boxing been dead for a while outside of these major events. And I think in recent couple of this past 5 years, all of this goofy silliness fucking events kind of put an eye on the sport. The McGregor crossover. I know boxing fans will always be boxing fans. I'm not trying to say, but boxing was kind of dying out. But when Conor McGregor did the whole transition and we have all this super fucking YouTube shit, and then, I'm not trying to disrespect all these boxing champions because Tyson Fury is a huge draw. Canelo's a huge draw. All of them. Henry's Tank Davis is a huge draw. Devin Haney's a huge draw. You know what I'm saying? I know a lot of other fighters, are huge draws. But all I'm trying to say is it got more people like me who was ignoring boxing because for me, I was just a fan of MMA because there was my shit to do, my kicks and stuff involved. But now it's me. I'm watching more of these boxing events. So it's a win for boxing as a whole. May diehard old heads may not like it, but at the end of the day, it's a different generation. And just as much they didn't like the .com, they have to get used to the .com. So at the end of the day, it's different age. Go right ahead, Rafael.
There you go. So in that case of
and it's
Mike,
in Inglewood.
Yeah, it's gonna be on Inglewood, California, which is definitely because he has a really had a connection because Nate Diaz is from Stockton, California, and then he has a really great connection not only for UFC but also for like kickboxing. Also, he has a real academy. But in that case of Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul, if Mike doesn't knock out him fast, he will lose because he can't have conditioning volume to compete like 10 to 12 rounds at almost 60 years old. It's just like his progression will be sparring match with Roy Jones. Tyson will be 58 in that fight. He may be like in a better shape right now. He hasn't looked after himself well since 2005. He catches like Paul for the first round, a couple rounds, and it'll be like it if it goes after that. Because this is really dangerous for a 50-year-old man. Just like it's not gonna be like a very interesting, but it's gonna be like stupid because that should never gonna be in head. Because I know it's gonna be like really disappointing because those people that get a fighting against Jake Paul, allowing him to get fights, he doesn't care about boxing. He sees like very similar like he does in having wins over people out of the good chance of beating. It's very pathetic. But looking forward to everything. The boxing war, is kind of like.
I get that too. Because your doctor, the committee, the government sanctioned this fight. And this is a sanction. You just sanctioned a fucking damn near 60-year-old. Okay, no, I'm not trying to disrespect Mike Tyson. This is how good Mike Tyson is, right? Because the motherfuckers are sanctioning this probably was fans of him in the 90s, right? They're at the fucking government desks and shit, and be like, yeah, he can fight. That's Mike fucking Tyson. Like the guy's 60 and you guys sanctioned this fight. Oh my god! But continue, Rafael. Wow.
Yeah. But I just really thought it because after that I just saw for the news between Nate Diaz versus Jorge Masvidal, and then I was just like, wow, what a habit of the boxing for anything. In that case right now, because it seems like they have a very consistent performance bonus. But I think that the case of Nate Diaz versus Jorge Masvidal, it's not very complicated right now, but it's very necessary. I don't think that Nate wants to be like a fight MMA and more because boxing seems like the easier path for him. Masvidal fucked Nate off hard in MMA back in 2019. He has less tools to do as in boxing because people, they just want to see fighters that can pay more. But also they can also talk about it for setting up fights that will pay more. That was like the fight that no one asked for, but it was somehow to pay because they've been rocking. Because I've been rocking with the Diaz brothers. They just saw for the pay-per-view was went at the top of the game with the UFC back in the 2000. Remember the Ultimate Fighter also
On some tap out shit, we walking tap out in affliction.
yeah, exactly. And you remember about that time that Nick Diaz called out George St. Pierre in 2011? That was purely classic. But I think that they has to go for the change for the boxing world, but of course had to do for it because they had some of the nobility right there, but Nate has more consistent performance at the bouts, and Masvidal has a higher level of talent because otherwise it'll be not very similar, but because it's still like they're on the contract. Because it seems like because after they're doing like the career in MMA, they had the pushover for the boxing. I mean, they're giving like a life of fighting now for the making for hard work and popularity. It's not gonna be like it'll be. It's very strange, at all. But some people do want to, but it's not a better set.
What you said that was awesome. I'm sorry, that was awesome.
But some people didn't get understand about what you have to say right now because it's not complete like the realm of expectations for those guys that are opponents' careers. I mean, both big names are clearly like the past their primes, but it's not gonna be hard to watch over the hill. But
you know what they're saying though, right? They're saying Nate Diaz goes in there, fights Masvidal. They say Conor McGregor has 2 fights left on his contract. One of those fights is going to Michael Chandler. I say it happens on fight week at UFC 303. And then that last fight on McGregor's contract is going to go to Nate Diaz. They want to complete that trilogy. That's just in rumorville, in rumor lands, in UFC rumors, in mixed martial arts rumors, and combat sports rumors. That is just rumorville. And Conor McGregor say if he does Conor McGregor resign after this, but it's not about Conor McGregor. It's about Nate Diaz and Masvidal. Back over to you.
yeah, there you go. I mean, they're just looking at the forward because it's just making it like it because it's not gonna be a wasted of time. I mean, there honestly is gonna be like a really hype, but people they don't know about the Nate Diaz because he's like a great boxer, and actually is not very jetsoned, but it's definitely had to understand why they had the MMA fighters had made boxing matches. I mean, they could have the boxers right now, but I think they had called for the history because before that, the boxing world was unbelievable. They're just watching about for the fights of Sugar Ray Leonard, also Muhammad Ali, Roberto Duran, also Oscar de la Hoya. Those golden times in boxing, like back in the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, and also for 2000. I mean, they just came part of the mainstream because if you're watching boxing in HBO, you got lucky to watch there.
Even early days with like early 2000s with Manny Pacquiao and them, you know what I'm saying? Floyd Mayweather. I know people hate him, but I was a fan of Floyd Mayweather growing up and I was seeing him box, but and then it continue. I don't want to take up your moment in my back.
Yeah, don't worry about that because I understand that because they just getting there for the MMA back in 1999, which is in the 90s, and it just became like a very underground sport. And then it came for the mainstream after 2000, which is the first time that I was watching. That was the Ultimate Fighter back in 2005. And looking at the forward, I mean, that's something that I was really getting interesting right now. But I think there has to go because is it about to go for the dying? I mean, if there's no having to go for it because the question about for all these fans right here, because it's very unlikely for everything. I mean, is actually boxing a dying sport? I mean, I don't think so. Because during for the data of number of people who participate, it's hard to find in most countries, but it's always had to be extremely popular, which is United States.
I would say this though, like in recent years, like if you ask me in 2000 and period of maybe around 2013 to 2018, no one really for me, I would say if you look at the charts, boxing was kind of at a decline. I'm comparing it now to the 90s, the 80s, the golden years of boxing. You know what I'm saying? It was definitely on a decline. And now with this upstream of, you're getting the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia involved, you're getting all these YouTube crossovers, MMA crossovers, and then now you're getting these big fights, right? these heavyweights like Tyson Fury and then Anthony Joshua, he just did, to Nagano and all that jazz, right? And then this fights with Devin Haney and when you see Ryan Garcia go and fight Tank and stuff like that, right? So boxing at the end of the day been around for over 100 years, right? It's always gonna be a sport that's gonna live, and I'm just saying that there's been like kind of like a rebirth of boxing in recent years.
Yep. But also after that, because I was watching like they're doing for the impact of boxing. If you saw like Joe Frazier versus Muhammad Ali, they just became like the greatest event in all sports history. But when it comes to Tyson Fury versus Deontay Wilder, the third part, I mean, they just came like at a very, very popular because I know this had to go for the close for anything. I mean, it's gonna make it at the comeback because many have the role that I heard about for the YouTube influencers participating in big money vows because those fights would have tried it. Yeah, because they just had Logan Paul, they just got KSI, also there's Jake Paul because they're just attracting male viewers. I mean, the format of boxing is very explosive. In fact, it lends very itself for the way that the Generation C it consumes content on social media. There's like the short videos and knockouts. Maybe some Mike Tyson cares to pray like in the miles and meals because I understand about the social media. Also, the big rivalries because they brought back the sport in the boxing, but they just had Floyd Mayweather, Manny Pacquiao, arguably two of the best, greatest pound-by-pound fighters, buying out for the fight of the century back in 2015. Also, they just got Anthony Joshua, the Klitschko brothers, Canelo Alvarez, Vasily Lomachenko, was also the contributor to the sport, reaching new fans around the world. But there's too many white classes in association because there are 17. That means today there can be like over like 60 different world champions and four-way heavy champions at the same time because all the divisions and sanctioning bodies are arrested for greeting promoters and all they serve to create confusion among for the fans. I mean, the likes of Mike Tyson, I mean, who owns like Pay Tigers or a giant tattoo, I mean, Tyson Fury has sort of breath of fresh air, but otherwise sports, he doesn't really have the wide array of drinking personalities that the trends of sports and drawing the media attention. I mean, but the boxing is not a dying sport. It's actually making like the comeback as a participation of viewer figures and it's on the rise. Because if they're gonna need to go back to these roots and make it more accessible for the masses, and I hope that few iconic superstars emerge for the coming years to get it spiced it off and every kind of attention once more. I mean, they're no longer the fights or the exhibitions and do it for that. There are no longer the skills generations before. It might somewhat popular going to do for the crossover fights with no host wrestler YouTubers. That's not boxing. I mean, if you gotta have it to go for the boxing, I mean, the assess for the coach for the few sports is, I mean, it's really very, very fun to watch right now. But the other points where they see to say it's kind of like the most accessible for anything. I mean, for the 12 round, I mean, it's gonna be a reach to the sky flying goes when the words get to stop to watch. But I think it's gonna be like the few iconic to make it set off for the coming back. So yeah, that's very hard to say about it. But I mean, whether it comes to like a boxing, I mean, it's not pretty much dying. It's not pretty much dying, but I think it's gonna happen like a great comeback. But what's certainly I don't understand. What's the go of it? Because if you had like influencers like KSI, they just had Jake Paul, also Logan Paul. I mean, that had to an attention for many viewers. Because if you grow up in the 90s and 2000, that's very good. That's very good. But if you're growing up in the 2010, 2020, I mean, the whole generation C has got at a lot level because they want to see like a lot of more action on it. And I'm not gonna get upset right now. I'm not getting upset because it's not gonna be like a dying very soon at all. But it makes like a go for the direct part of sessions. But I think it's actually right here because I think it's gonna actually for anything could happen for attention. Anything about for anything could happen. So I just want to have for the boxing right here, but I mean it has sort of reasons for the trends because people there actually they had the surprisingly of the pro boxing, but it's very declining. But I think it's gonna be like a good year for boxing in 2023. But I think 2024 is gonna be like Very similar to Eddie.
Sorry about that. I had to grab a package. What's up, Alex?
Yep. Also, salute to you, to Big Blue and the Bronze. Also, I just wanted to tell you because I'm out of my red right now because I think that what they had to go for the issue with the boxing isn't that General Public is in the tournament for the top spots and its fighters. I mean, isn't it really strategic to build young fighters into straws and drugs? I think it about for the Alice Rochel and Giovanni Stalin further than another, and how little coverage was there for the fight. I mean, that thing that the UFC, which is the mixed martial arts, just a million times if they stack the head of the cards and give exposure to everyone. People want to see like great fights when they have a competitive fights with undercards, with talented guys. People will remember it. I mean, boxing is very too greedy. But they also raised a promising great prospect getting lost around the card so they can have the main event or the rest card is very slow. But I mean, they're not going to decline for the not watching, but might have the goals for the circus. It's very constant with good matches and all they keep like very commercial success and very interesting high.
Yeah, let me just say this: like boxing is always going to be around. It's never really going to die. You got to think about it that way. It's a worldwide sport in a sense. You know, I look at it like this, man. It's just fucking boring as fuck, man. It really is. When you really think about it, I only care about the cream of the crop. The guy's very at the top. When you look at a boxing cord, you know what I'm saying. If you look from the undercord and then working your way up to the main event, there's just so much interference in between, and this is someone that didn't grow up a fan of boxing, so I may offend a lot of people. You know what I'm saying? I don't mean to offend a lot of people, but for me, my eyes was just trained growing up watching the UFC, and then growing up watching the UFC, and when it's like just like boom, it's just all about business. There's not all about fucking all these promotions in the ring. There's not like 5 different promotions with 5 different championships. I'm not knocking boxing, but it's just a lot of business, a lot of dirty fucking business that goes on in boxing, a lot of dodging. It's a corrupted fucking sport. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of like, I'm not going to fight this guy. I'm not going to fight this guy. Now, what I would say about boxing is, like I said, I'm a fan of major fights. I'm going to tune in. I'm a fan that these boxers actually can control their own destiny and promote their own promotions. Like I'm not gonna lie, man. I was a fan of Mayweather. I was a fan of Mayweather because no one could figure out him. When he got into that boxing ring, it was like fucking playing chess. If you're gonna talk shit, you're gonna say like, oh, that guy can't do this. Well, figure it out then. Go figure him out, and no one could figure him the fuck out. All right. So now he's 50-0, right? And don't get me wrong. Every time Tank fights, I'm gonna tune in. I'm gonna tune in to watch Tank because I think he's a great fighter, man. I like watching Tank. When Fury fights, I'm gonna tune in. When Anthony Joshua fights, I'm gonna tune in. When Canelo fights, I'm gonna dabble in a bit. All I'm trying to say is, before you get to that main fight, there's just a lot of fights that I really don't care about. And when you look at these guys that is coming in at like 19-0, and then like I know I still have Jake Paul up here, but like you go look at the people that they fought, it's like they're not really fighting anybody. The all of this, I'm 19-0, I'm 20-0, and it's like, who have you fucking fought? And you look at the guys that they fought, and they're just meant to be there like bots, right? They're just bots, right? So you look at that guy's record, he's 19-41. It's a fucking bot, bro. I would beat his ass. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I'm not even gonna talk shit, but I'm like, of course you're gonna beat him. You know what I'm saying? But he was 6-0 when you fought him. Yeah, when he was 6-0, but that guy has like 31 knockouts. He got knocked out 31 times, bro. So all this fuckery until they make it. Now I'm not gonna say that the same doesn't go on in MMA. It does. I'm not trying to say that. You slowly climb up your ladder in MMA, but sometimes all of this, I don't know. It's just different for me. It's hard for me to watch. It's hard for me to watch because like like the good fights, it's awesome, but sometimes the bad fights is just. Let's just hug it out. Let's just hug it out. Let's just hug it out. It's like, bro, if you could just throw a knee, if you could just, you know what I'm saying? Do more tight clinch, that shit. But at the end of the day, I'm not trying to knock boxing. I'm not trying to disrespect boxing. I just grew up. I'm a fan of mixed martial arts, man. I'm a fan of MMA, and I wasn't trying to knock boxing or anything like that. If that came out rude.
Yeah, I mean,
and then it's like you got like fucking 50 people. You got 50 people in the ring. Like, get the fuck out of the ring. We don't need you in this ring.
Yeah, there you go. But I absolutely have loved the love
Hey,
your
hold on.
point
And
right
then there's
here.
like an
Okay.
hour in between fights. It's like let's go detour on a fucking UFC countdown. It's like a whole countdown show before the fucking fight, bro. It's like let's just fight. I'm just gonna stop. I'm just gonna stop. Oh man. Interview it, this guy, interview it, that guy. Can we get to the fucking fight? Like, god damn. Continue though. Probably made a lot of boxing fans really mad right there.
Yeah, I know. But I just wanted to realize because right now it concludes like the episode number 5 of the Comic Club. I mean, can you imagine? Because right now we're at the episode number 5 of the Comic Club, and right now we just see for all these people because they just wanted to look at it very different. Because right now it's like a show we can provide like boxing, UFC, AEW, WWE, because all kind of the style. Because this is what we're talking about. Because after we seen like a very good ideas, because right now it is time to get an opportunity to talk about UFC, boxing, wrestling in one show because they don't want it to miss it because we just provide like a great breakdowns, also in opinions, also like a film studies, also for the news and everything because it's been like a 5 episode, but I think we're gonna have it like a much bigger about it because it's gonna be like a really excited, and I'm very glad that Zion Sin is gonna be like a co-host for like the podcast, and I know it's gonna see like there, but I just wanted to tell you salute to the chat, also Daniel Berry, Mike the Giant Fan, Afakasi, Big Blue in the Bronze. Salute to everybody else, and I just wanted to make a special shout out to the G Nation Inside Sports because not only provides like everything about for New York Giants football, but also for the MMA boxing, so you cannot miss it. And I know Big Brother Lou is gonna watch it, but I know it's gonna be like a really different. But I just wanted to tell you, thanks for joining us for the episode number 5 of the Comeback Club with Rafael Chacín, as known as El Capitán Rafucho, and my co-host Science Zenith. Also, you can subscribe us on YouTube, Science Zenith, Capitán Rafucho on YouTube. Also, you can follow me on Instagram
Links are
at
down below.
Capitán Rafucho, at El Capitán Rafucho on Twitter. Also, you can follow me on Rumble, Rafucho93. Also, every different social media. So I just wanted to tell you, it's been another episode of the Comic Club, which we provide UFC and wrestling and boxing all the time because there it is. So I just
I will
wanted to
say
tell
this
you.
though, like I know we haven't really talked about wrestling that much on this show, guys, and we apologize for that. If you guys tuned into the first episode, we told you guys we was going to talk about wrestling. Honestly, when WrestleMania comes up, when there's breaking news and big events like that, we are gonna dedicate more time and more space on these episodes for wrestling. And then of course, you know, when Francis goes over the PFL, when PFL starts to have these exciting fights, and then of course when Bellator starts to have the exciting fights, we can dabble in that. But mostly majority, guys, we be focusing on the UFC events and of course major boxing events that come out. And like once again, I'm not trying to hate on boxing, guys. It's just sometimes I don't like this padded record shit, and that really irritates me. But at the end of the day, I'm a fan of these major events, and I can't wait to see them.
There you go. So I just wanted to tell you, thank you for joining us at this Combat Club with Capitán Rafucho and Science Zenith. We will see you there next time at the next episode and the next day. So, like what I say, let's get it, folks.
Let's get it.